And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the Monday Mastermind, where we have on our panel the superstars in our industry. We have Pops, we have Jamie Shaw, we have Katie Stage, and, FYI, Pops is Chris Stage. We call him Pops because he is our wisdom keeper. And we've got a jam-packed session for you today. And we're glad that you made it. And before we actually get into the whole subject matter of what we're talking about today, let's go through the panel and find out how everybody's week has been. So I'm going to start off with Pops. Pops, say hello. How the hell are you, as Joe would say?
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Hi, everybody. Bob, you're goofy, man. Look at that. That's funny stuff. Excellent week. Actually, tomorrow, we're leaving here. We're going to start heading towards Las Vegas, take our time and visit some things because in Las Vegas, we have family coming in for 4 days, so we get to spend time with family. That'll be cool. Then we're going to hang in the area because we have 2 events we're going to go to, and that's going to be exciting in November. And we got a lot accomplished here today, in this, because we had a good internet, fairly good weather. We didn't have to run from hurricane this time. It was over in the next county. Actually, it was in the next state or two, but it seemed like the next county. But it's been an awesome week.
Great. Awesome to hear that. And Mr. Jamie Shaw, I believe you've had an excellent weekend. We can't wait to hear it. Please share.
Yeah. What do you mean this superstar stuff? That's low on the totem pole, dude. Yeah, I'm a rock star. I'm way up here. Yeah, I had a really awesome weekend. I made $150 fixing computers, and then something I really didn't want to do, but I don't really have time for it no more, is I sold my baby. I have a 1986 Chevy Monte Carlo SS with T-tops, full big motor in it and everything that I rebuilt. And I rebuilt this car pretty much from the ground up. It was to the point where all it needed was paint and a few odds and ends, and that was it. And I only got to drive it twice, I think, so after I got it done. So, but I don't have time for it anymore, so I got rid of it. So I sold the body of it for $1,500. I got to keep all my money that I put into it because all my money was in the motor and transmission. So, the body, I bought it like that. It was in excellent shape and didn't have no rust on it at all or anything. The frame wasn't hurt or wasn't rusted anywhere. And, the guy was super impressed of what kind of shape it was in. He's going to totally redo it and put a LS motor in it with twin turbos. He said when he's done, it'll be about 1,000 horsepower. So I can't wait to see it when he's got it done. So, I had a $1,650 weekend.
That's always a good weekend. Always a good weekend, I'm sure. That's amazing. Wow. I don't think I could build a car if you paid me. I could probably look it up online maybe, but I don't have the skills for building a vehicle. But maybe one day, who knows? I'm great at building computers, just like you, Jamie. So I'm sure the skill set is in there somewhere. But that's awesome, man. And Mrs. Katie on stage, how are you doing?
Super fantastic. Thanks for asking. Back to you in the studio.
Wow. Threw me off guard there for a second. Jeez, I was about to catch my breath. Nothing else you want to share? You saw a cougar.
I did see a cougar, but it was just the tail end of the cougar. So that was okay. So it was actually hacking up a hairball. Yeah, it was hacking up a hairball. It woke me up at 1 a.m. and it just kept hacking away. And it was like really close to the RV, like just across the road right there. And I was like, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was, I didn't think cougar. I had no clue. So then the moon was full that night. And the light was, it was a clear sky. And so it was really bright outside. And when I finally looked out the window to see what was out there, the cougar had already been walking away, and I just saw its butt. So then it proceeded to go a little bit further down and hacked up a few more hairballs, and I was able to capture in audio at least one hairball hack. The camp host and let him listen to this audio. He says, "Wow, you actually got a glimpse of a rare sight, which was a cougar. That is in fact a cougar hacking up a hairball, and I wish I would have been there." So, pretty cool stuff.
Awesome. I had a very interesting weekend myself. I got to say, I had a bit of a lull weekend. I kind of took the weekend off in many respects because I had what you call a kind of a blah weekend. I just had this moment where nothing seemed to make sense, and I just had a very lazy weekend. And I got on a call with Katie yesterday, Katie and Pops, and we had an interesting conversation. And I got all revitalized. And I got to say that I want to share something with you today that I've shared before if you've gone to my profile, but I want to mention it again because I think it's important. And you won't find this very often. You won't find this type of message out there. And I want to share this with you because I believe that this type of thinking is going to take your business over the edge. And it's really about the time I almost died. I nearly fell to my death about 15 years ago. I was climbing a mountain or a peak called Monk's Cow, and it's at the Drakensberg on the water of Lesotho from South Africa. And I went up with a friend of mine about 15 years ago, and we wanted to climb this mountain. Anyway, so we trek all the way through the bundus and everything, and we finally get to a certain stage, and we come across these markings. And the first marking said something along the lines of an easy path, a harder path, and for climbers. It wasn't really marked out that way. We just saw the difficulty level. But we made the unfortunate mistake of taking the hardest path. So we walked a very long distance to an area where, as my friend got to the end of it, because he was ahead of me, I just heard this loud scream. And I think he swore at the top of his lungs, because when he got there, he realized he had gone to the end of this hike, and there was a tiny waterfall. And there was a trickle of a fountain, like a tiny waterfall, where you had to kind of climb up with ropes and stuff and get onto the top. And when I arrived there, I realized what had happened. But just over the other edge, as you peered over, there was this huge drop, like 300 feet, right between the two mountains. And this waterfall was kind of trickling down there. And he just said to me, "What do you want to do? Do you want to go back?" And I didn't want to go back because it was like a hangover walking. And being young and stupid, we just decided to go ahead. And he took off his backpack and he climbed up, and I pushed him up to the top there because he's quite light, and I'm not. So he went first, and then I threw his backpack up, and then it was my turn. So I took my backpack off, threw it up to him. He got it, and I was wearing brand new shoes. I mean, that was another stupid thing I did. I bought these brand new shoes, these hiking boots, and I blistered my way all the way through. And I took the first step, and as I took the step, I slipped. And Nick grabbed me by my shirt, just grabbed me with all of his might and pulled. And had he not grabbed me, I would have fallen down that cliff 300 feet and probably died. And so I'm alive because of that. But anyway, we got to the top, and then we started climbing these rocks, the huge, huge rocks, massive boulders, like huge. And I'm surprised that we never came across any snakes. But we climbed and we climbed and we climbed, and we finally got to the top. It was 7 hours later. We got to the top of this peak on top of Monk's Cow. It was amazing. You could see everywhere. We got to the top there, and we camped there for about a week. We actually found a cave. We slept in the cave. I remember we were smoking cigars up there. It was incredible. It was really a wonderful time. And then we came down, and it was only like 3 hours coming down because you're walking and everything. Anyway, I decided after that every year after that I wanted to climb it again. And so the following year I went with somebody else and we were trekking the same place, but we could never find a way to the top of Monks Callaghan. We couldn't get there. And we just ended up at the bottom of this big mountain. And then the following year I tried it again and we couldn't find it again. I think the following year I tried it, we couldn't find it again. And up till yesterday or today, I just realized why we couldn't find the place to go up. And it was because we never took the way that was the hardest, the way that we needed rope, the most dangerous place to actually climb to the top of this mountain, because I had nearly died and I wasn't about to do it again. But the only reason I got to the top of that mountain was because I took huge risk at my life's expense. And that was the reason I never got to the top. And it got me thinking about my business and why it is that I have been able to get to the top of my business, why it is that I'm financially independent and able to live a life of freedom, not having a boss, is because I took a huge risk. And that's exactly why I'm here today, because I did things that really shook me to my core. I did things that honestly people would never believe if I told them how many hours I worked on my business every single day and how little sleep I actually got when I first got started. It was like my apprenticeship stage, like a rite of passage that I had to go through. And that was a very, very, very interesting time for me, and how I realized that I've come to this position. Now, today, what we want to talk about today is we want to talk about emotional triggers. And now you might have been wondering, why does I told the story? Why is it I actually drew you into the story? And I've actually covered in this story 5 trigger points that I've actually used already in my story that I want to share with you guys. And I want you to understand that if you want to be more effective in your business, if you want to reach more people, if you can use these 5 emotional triggers in your business, what you're going to find is that more people are going to be drawn to you. More people are going to want to listen to you, because these emotional triggers are things that are going to help you. It's kind of like inbuilt into your DNA. There are certain things that we respond to, that we actually are drawn into, that we kind of look for, and it's kind of like climbing a mountain. You know, you got to find a ledge where you can draw yourself up, and if you find the right crevice, you can pull yourself up. And this is what these emotional triggers do. They give people the right footing so that they can climb up and be nearer to you. All right. And so we want to talk about these 5. And the first emotional trigger that you absolutely have to have in your business, and if you do not have this, I'm telling you now, it's not even worth it. And the first emotional trigger is stories. Stories are the thing that drive your business. They absolutely are the fuel that get your business going. Every time you tune into somebody and you listen, you are always listening for some journey, some process that you can be a part of. If you think about it, if you go into YouTube and you're looking for a video, you are captivated by something that's going to draw you in. All right, we do it with movies, we do it with series, we do it with documentaries. If there is a story inside of there and it's well said and well told, all right, with a real beginning, with a real struggle, and with a real overcoming of a problem, and if there's a bad guy, and something that beats the bad guy, it's more compelling. And this is exactly what stories do. And I have a story for my business that I tell on a regular basis inside of my online work. And I tell it over and over and over again, because I want people to understand that they can be part of this journey with me. So if I can do it, if I can actually get to the stage where I am right now, I can get people in that journey with me if I tell a story that's compelling and that people are identifying with. That is what gets people going. All right. And you know, Jamie has a story, Katie has a story, Pops has a story, and maybe if you guys want to talk about this for a while and talk about how perhaps stories have captivated you throughout your life, that would be wonderful. You want to share a bit of that?
I'd like to share real quick is that one, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. One of the things that helped me in one of my biggest breakthroughs in my business was someone telling their story. And I was at a live event and they were up on stage and telling the story. And it wasn't any particular story that would like move mountains per se. It was just something that I've actually heard one time before, but for some reason I was at that point in my life where I needed to actually hear a hidden message from that story that actually gave me just this huge breakthrough. And I think what connected with me was specifically what he talked about is that he had his own personal breakthrough, and it was how he told it, and it's how he that feeling of that breakthrough. So I put myself in that position. I kind of felt that with him, right? Because he explained it in such a great way that I myself had that breakthrough. And I think stories can do that, right? So I think it's really important to, like, for me, myself, I'm actually working currently how to tell my stories better, because I know it has such a huge connection. Because one thing I do have to say, that one thing I learned is that I remember stories more than I do, you know, like strategies or teachings. So anything like that, anything that has like a story to it, I remember that story, which triggers something in my mind about the lesson that was in that story. And it's always, I can always remember that.
The stories have been told for eons. You know, they used to be called parables way back when. You know, through the Bible and Christ's teachings and Buddha teachings and whomever you follow, they all have stories. Even in your present day churches, for the most part, they have stories. I remember when I was raised Catholic, and I remember when we were in church and the priest would be up on the pulpit during his sermon and he would tell a story for the most part. It wasn't always fire and brimstone, but some of them were pretty good. And that's how messages get delivered, and that's what we as a species are used to, and how we do get messages delivered to us, and how we can understand the feelings in the story, compulsion, compassion, empathy, and like Dave said earlier, if there's some bad guy, you know, that's even better. And if you can wrap it around and bring it all back to a happy ending, or depending on what you're trying to achieve, it could come to a not so happy ending. If you want to, in marketing, pass for someone. So a non-happy ending would possibly work in that regard. Or including, if your story can bring them in as if you want to be an includer, and because people like to gather and all that stuff, and I think we're going to touch on that anyway, but that's part of the story. And all the stuff we're going to actually touch on tonight should be wrapped into the story anyway. So we'll let Dave, or if Jamie has something to say, and then Dave can continue on.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a story that shifted my mind, and then I met the mentor that told the story like a week later at an event, you know, and his story was so moving, you know. I felt like I was right there next to him during the whole story. And the key thing was, I went to the event, the company event, the following weekend, and I met him personally. And the advice he gave me was to start making YouTube videos because I was scared to do videos. He just told me, pardon my French, but he said, just get over that shit and do the damn videos. And I took his advice and started doing videos. So that story changed my outlook on marketing because I was at the point where I was in the victim state. I can't do this. I'm not having no luck. Nobody wants to join me, and that whole that changed my whole mindset and my whole frame after that, and meeting other mentors such as Dave and Katie, pushed me along the way, hearing their stories and stuff. If I hadn't been for them stories, then I probably wouldn't be here today. But it's the stories that help you shift your mind, because seeing them do it makes you know that you can do it.
Yeah, and what I will say is that the thing that stories do is they create intrigue, and they get people to ask questions. Just like when Pat tells his story, you are intrigued and you want to know more because it creates a sense of what, and you want to go and ask more about that. And I'll give you a good example, and Pops touched on this. When Jesus told his parables, what was interesting about his parables, and there's one in particular that always sticks in my mind that nobody seems to question because people have heard it so often. But if you get a chance, go to your Bible and look up the sower. Look up the sower in the book of Mark. Well, I think it's in Mark. Yeah, it should be Mark. And Jesus gets on a boat, and he decides to tell people about the kingdom of God. That's what he's going to do. So he tells people about it and says, "I'm going to tell you about the kingdom of God." And for the next while, he just tells people, he gives people a horticulture lesson. He just tells a story about sowing seed. He doesn't say anything else. And then after he's finished, he just says, "Thank you very much," and he goes off his way. And people are as confused as heck because he's just, "I'm going to tell you about the kingdom of God," and he tells you a story about the sower. He hasn't told you anything about the meaning or anything. And people run up to him and say, "What the heck are you on about?" And he says, "Thank you for asking. I'll tell you now." And that's what a story does. You can look it up yourself. He doesn't actually give any meaning, but he creates intrigue. That's what stories do, is they create intrigue. They get people listening. They get people to ask questions. And that's what you want your story to do. You want people to gain more interest in you, in what you have to offer. So that's the first emotional trigger. The second one is steps and series. Steps and series. And I want you to hear me for a second. What do I mean by steps and series? Well, if you've been following myself or anybody else on this panel or marketers, you will find that there are loads of us doing these series where we do a series for about maybe 5 steps. And the reason we do it is because people want to be part of something. All right. And the thing that gets people into something, gets emotional triggers going, is if they can be part of something. So they can see a step 1, and then you say, right, that's step 1. Now I'll be doing step 3, 4, and 5 in the next coming days. And then people go ahead and they want to know what the next step is. So they come back the next day and they want to hear what it is. And if you go to my blog, you'll find that I have a whole series on habits that have built me up to success. And I think it goes on for about 12 steps. And every day I did another one, and I did another one. And I got people watching me because I have a series of videos that draw people in. And if you can incorporate steps and series inside of your business, you're going to just make your business more appealing to other people. All right. So if you've learned how to get leads, all right, you can create a 5 series set of videos on how to actually do that. How to find the best traffic, how to buy the best traffic, what traffic to avoid, what's the purpose of traffic. You can create these series that people will be drawn into what you have to say. And this is so important if you are an online marketer. If you want to give people a series of steps where they can lose weight. You can give them a series of 5 steps that they can take to lose weight. I know that Colleen is into, she does makeup and that sort of thing, and she can create series of drawing people in and how they can, you know, I don't know what the whole thing is on my end and with the whole beauty makeup.
No, that was actually right on, Dave. You said makeup and then draw people in.
Yes,
get it?
makeup.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
But the whole idea is that if you can draw people into tiny little steps where they can know that they're going to get the next piece tomorrow, that's going to grab more people's attention. And you'll actually find that if you really are good at marketing, you'll find that your entire marketing message is a series of steps throughout the year, where you're just building on something that you've done before, where you can talk about something and make it a whole story. You can even take your story and you can break it up into sections, maybe a series of 5 videos that you want to make. That is so important. All right. And I know that Jamie has a whole series of videos on building blogs. I know that Katie has a whole series of videos on doing Facebook and that sort of thing. That's what we do. Maybe you guys can think of examples of stuff that people have done.
You'll see a lot on the online space that there's a lot of people who do series of, they do say that it takes 21 days to create a habit, which we already know that's a false, because Pops can touch on that if you want to touch on that, Pops, in a second. But anyways, people say that 21 days to create a habit. So you see all these challenges that are on either on Facebook or YouTube or something, where you do like a Facebook Live for 21 days. I've done it. And then you do, you know, other challenges. And that draws people in because, first of all, you create a challenge around something that people are struggling with. Like I said, Facebook Live. You get to be part of this group. So there's that. And you get to be in that, in making that series. So, Pops?
It's great to have.
Yeah, the 21-day thing, I didn't fall for that. I shouldn't say I didn't fall for it. I just didn't like that for some reason. I prefer, and I'm not going to even go there any further because I really don't like the challenges. I prefer when people are doing, and you'll see it when they have a 5-day or a 5, like they were saying, a 5 series thing, and they'll stretch it over 5 weeks. Now that's really compelling, especially if you have something really good to share. I'm telling you, you start teaching something and do it in that way, and if they come back the next week, boy, you got them. You know, you got their attention, and they'll keep following you, and that, I think, in my opinion, is one of the most compelling things. Is, you know, you got to tell them on the, you know, up front what you have for them, and definitely tell them you're going to stretch it out. So that, and you tell them this is so much, there's so much content here that you have to have a week to absorb it, because you're going to want to go back over the first one again, and then the next one again, and excuse me, you build it up just like a story. You build it up, and then you give them something at the end about, you know, hey, those that show up, you make it to the last one and I have a free whatever for you. And that's an enticement. And that's also kind of a trigger for people if you're giving something away. But I think Dave or Jamie can follow up on that stuff.
Yeah, I jotted that down, 5 weeks to building, you know, because I'm getting ready to do a series on building Facebook pages. So that's a good idea, because I have a lot of content on Facebook pages. So maybe a 5-week series to building a Facebook page. That's, you know, do 1 video a week. That's pretty cool, you know, because there is so much content out there on Facebook pages, you know, how to get traffic to it, how to monetize it, how to optimize it. You know, I could go on and on forever. I've got a couple courses that I've gone through on Facebook pages to build pages and how to get traffic to it. So, that might be a good series. I do have a series on building, getting your hosting and all the way building out to a Facebook page. I think I'm going to add a couple more videos to it because I think I only have 4 in the series. But for people that are struggling to know how to get hosting and get a domain name, I walk you through from beginning to end. And most systems that are good out there, the system we use, started here. Imagine that. Get started, and you go in and hit get started, and it's got 6 steps to get you started and get you all set up. And most good systems have a series like that process to get you in and get you getting leads. That's the main thing in the game, is to get leads. And then then you go through additional training how to convert people into sales, and that's we want to Katie, I think Katie taught this, Diane Hockman teaches it, the 4 C's: capture or collect, capture, I forgot what the third one is, communicate, and close. Capture, collect. What'd you say? Now you got me all confused.
Capture, connect, convert, and close.
Yeah, that's it. Right. So, and that's what you should be doing in your business all the time. Step-by-step process. You just don't do all 4 steps at one time. You gotta, you gotta collect, you gotta process there, a whole step-by-step process. So, and that's what the system we use teaches you, how to do that stuff. My 2 cents on this topic.
Well, are we having a connection issue, or is it just me?
I think it's all of us. Or Jamie. But we heard what you said, Jamie. It was good. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Just you, buddy.
I'll tell you, the thing that I really appreciate about, for instance, being part of My Lead System Pro is exactly what Jamie said, is that there is a series of steps that people can follow. And that's what people get, that's what they're drawn into, the fact that there is a stepping stone to actually getting somewhere. People always love to be able to follow steps and series. They love it. And so if you can incorporate that into your business, you will absolutely draw people in. All right. It isn't just a case of saying, right, here's a big load of chunk of information. Now go through it. Break it up to steps so people can actually chew it. How do you eat an elephant? One, a little bit at a time. You don't eat the whole thing at once. You do it in chunks. And it's the same with if you want to get a lot of things done. Let's say you've got 50 things that you need to get accomplished during the week. Don't look at all 50. Break it up to chunks of 3. So 1, 2, 3. Once you finish, move on to the next step. 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, and then move on to the next step. It's really helpful for people to go through these tiny steps. So that is the second emotional trigger that you can do inside of your business. The third one is probably as it's just as important, and that is the idea that people are part of a community. All right, community is vital. If you have a business and you don't have a community, you are missing a vital step in your business. Because when people hear that there are other people involved and that they can be a part of that, that is what people want. At the heart of it, everybody wants to be accepted. People want to be encouraged. People want to be edified and made to feel important and valuable. That is what people want. You may not feel this way, but I'm telling you, it's absolutely true that if you can make somebody else feel important and be part of a community, that really draws people into your business. And so one of the things that we have inside of this community is we have a community of people part of a Facebook group, and everybody is inside of that, and everybody contributes to their business and help each other out. And we get together once a week where we help each other out, and you may be part of a community as well. But that is the thing, that if you have your own business, and if you don't have a community that you're either a part of, or you should be starting yourself, you should be starting a community where people can be part of what you have to offer. You should have a Facebook group. You should have a community of a chat of people that you can connect with. That is what draws people in. And so when you are talking about your business, one of the things that you want to throw in the mix is that you have a community that people can be a part of. I used to be a part of this thing right in the beginning called Online Profits for Dummies, way back about 4 years ago. And I was a part of this community, and it was absolutely terrific because we had this friendly competition where we'd see how many videos we could make in a week, how many leads we could get in a week, how many sales we could make in a week. And people love that. And that is what keeps people going. That's what's kept me going, is the fact that I'm part of a community. All right. Pops, myself, Jamie, we connect all throughout the week. We help each other out. And this is what we do, because we can't do this by ourselves, individually. We need each other to sharpen each other. Iron sharpens iron. And so when we get together, we help each other out. And I'm sure that a lot of people here on this panel can speak to that, and why it is that Caddy and Pops are in an RV going around the United States and just living a life that's absolutely amazing. And I'm so envious of, and I'm in a good way. I love it, the fact that they're doing it. That is amazing. It really is great. And the fact that we can get together once a week and just help each other out is incredible.
I wanted to speak on that a little bit. On the flip side of it, when you're feeling that, when I got in this business, actually Pops and I both got in this business, we're both brand new. I always tell part of my story where I say that I feel like I've been left alone on an island. I don't say that I'm left alone on an island, because I wasn't really alone. I actually had Pops who taught me a lot of not the technical or the strategy side of it, but at least how to speak to people and how I should present myself better online and become more of a professional or a leader in that leadership role. And so that has helped me a lot. So I wasn't completely alone. So it's always good to have someone to mastermind with. So I did that for about just over 2 years. And then I met up with Dave, ran into Dave. And so then that was the strategy side of it, because he already at that point made a strategy, or already worked on a strategy, and I was able just to follow it. I just followed it. So then when I paired up those two together, where I already grew as a leader in the industry, I mean, as far as I saw myself as a leader, I stepped into that role already. I was able to take that strategy and put that communication in there and bring people in and make them feel welcome. So that was the community side of it, just to make people feel welcome. So just wanted to touch on that.
David?
Well, in all fairness, Katie is also a technical type for computer thingy, so I get a lot of help with the computer from her. Although she goes a little fast for me. She's like a whiz, you know. She's trying to show me stuff, and I can't even see her hands move. It's just, wow. The mouse is like, the cursor is, what? But anyway, we do help each other, and community is so important, especially with new people coming in your community, because you never know. You just never know who's going to come up with a fresh idea that's going to really take off. And we have had some people in our group that Dave was talking about that came in with some ideas that just blew us away. Because we can't think of everything. And it's a community, and everybody likes a community. Pastor Jackie's here. She's pastor of a church. She knows all about community. Bob, Robert Nevin, him too. he belongs to a church, and he's a singer and plays an instrument, and he's part of that community and other communities. And it's very important. We all know what it's like to be part of a community from young age all the way up, whether it be school or whatever. And it's part of our human nature to be a pack, not a pack, I guess, but be in a community. That's why people move to all these big cities away from the country. As a community, it's easier, more people to connect with, more people to just even be around, just to be around. Dave gave an analogy earlier when we weren't online yet, where if there's two parks across the street from each other, there's 2 cars in one and 12 in another, a lot of people are going to go to the one with 12 cars because there's more stuff happening. There's more people there. There's more community. And that was a great analogy. That worked out great for the way I was thinking and how he was speaking about it. So that's it for me, folks.
Jamie, you want to?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. I mean, I would be lost if I didn't have this community. I mean, like Dave said, we meet up a couple times a week, and just sometimes, we just sit there and just talk to each other, throw ideas at each other, and if it didn't have the mastermind there going on, some of the ideas would have never materialized. And for anybody of you out there that are trying to do this by yourself, stop now, because you need help. And that's why we have this big community of us together, because we help each other. I may have an idea that David Katie never thought of, or they may have an idea that I never thought of, like Pop's telling me, 5 weeks to building something. Oh, that was a good idea, right there. Instead of just popping out 5 videos, spread them out for 5 weeks. That's a good idea. So that's the kind of stuff we do as a community. And your growth will happen so much faster if you have a community around you.
And I will say this though, that while Pops is you mentioned that whole thing about the 2 cars in one and then 8 cars or 12 cars in the other, you go to that. When you show that to people, which brings me to my next emotional trigger, and that is social proof. When you can show that people are actually, that there is evidence of a great accomplishment, you're going to grab people's attention as well. So if you're telling your story, or you're trying to tell somebody how amazing this shake is that's going to help you lose weight, you can throw in testimonials, if you can throw in videos, if you can throw in any form of social proof that will show people how great that product is, it's going to certainly help you. And people are drawn to that. Because why are they drawn to it? Because it creates intrigue. People are drawn to stories. And this is why we draw on each other's experiences. The one thing that we also do here is we trade off testimonials, because we help each other out, and we give each other testimonials because we want to help each other, but also because we want to show social proof that we are actually accomplishing things in our business. And so if you're involved in any form of niche in your business and you know that other people have gotten results, grab people's testimonials, ask people for testimonials. All right. A lot of people are saying, I don't have testimonials. Well, go ahead and ask somebody. Somebody might say no, but ask somebody else. And that's half the problem, is that we don't persist. We don't carry on. We don't keep asking. Somebody might ask 3 people and then they don't do anything. One of the things that I used to do, and one of the jobs I used to do, was I worked for this company called Good Gold back in the day, where we used to sell watches. I used to walk the streets and sell watches. And there was one guy in this particular company that sold the most watches ever. People wondered how he did it. And the only reason he did so well is because every single no, he just kept on working on the next person, kept on working on the next person. And when I was walking the streets, I just walked past so many people. I didn't stop. I was waiting for somebody to come walk up to me and say, please show me a watch that I can wear. And that doesn't work. You've got to ask people. All right. So if you're short of testimonials, if you're short of some sort of social proof, ask people. put that, go and dig deep into your business and take that extra step. All right, that's what we've done. You know, and this is something I've just said to Pops as well, that I own a testimonial. I want to give him one. And, you know, I've given one for Jamie. I've given one for Katie. And Katie's done the same for me and the same for Jamie. And this is what we do. Get social proof into your business. It's an emotional trigger that pulls people in. All right. Katie, you want to say something?
I actually wanted to read Bob's comment here. He says, if you do social proofs, make sure they are truthful and approved by your company and your sponsor before posting. In other words, don't fake it. People will see right through it, which is absolutely true. When Dave says that we did testimonials for each other just in this panel, let's just say, not that because we're like, because we had to, it's because we wanted to, because each person in this panel has brought some value to this community. And we are compelled to give our thanks and give them a testimonial. And that's the way that we're saying. So if you're bringing something valuable to the community, then people just want to give you a testimonial. They'll just hand it to you. And just like, I've actually gotten surprises and you know, like, hey, I just did a testimonial for you. I'm like, oh, what, really? Oh, that's amazing. So it's a really good feeling. And so don't fake it, you know, because I've actually, this I think this happens way too often, where I saw a post on somebody that there's two people that I've been following on social media for a while. I mean, not stalking them like I normally do, but I see them often. Anyways, this one particular person is in this specific company, and this other specific person has been in many, many, many different companies. So this person, I noticed, started to promote the company that this person's in, and all of a sudden their sponsors always on their post and commenting, and I'm seeing them. And then the person that just joined has this post that is inviting people to get more information. His sponsor comments in his post, "I'd like more info." I'm like, you're his sponsor. What are you talking about? So it's that kind of fakeness to show that it looks like they're getting information or people interested in their business. That's faking it. And I've actually seen it. That was just one case. I actually see something like that all the time in groups. People would post into groups, and all of a sudden they're all saying, I want info, and I want info. And I click on their profile, and then they're in the same business. I'm like, what are you doing? That's not how you do it. You know, people will find out. You have to be truthful, and it just doesn't work that way around it. So back to you in the studio.
One thing I will say, and just before we go into Pops, if you've got something to say, is, and this is a good point, and that is, don't take what I've said and go ahead and just ask a complete stranger for a testimonial, because that's just not going to work. You also want to be a little bit, you want to use a bit of common sense. All right. So if you've worked with somebody for a while and you've gotten to know them and you've exchanged ideas and helped each other, that's a good premise by which you want to ask for a testimonial or some form of social proof. Don't go ahead and just fabricate it, because as Bob says, people will see through that, and you have to be a good liar. You have to have a really good memory as well. Don't just fabricate it, and don't take my word for it. If you want to go ahead and do it, you're just going to be you're going to see in the future. Yes, Katie.
I actually had one more example. Is that I connected with someone on Facebook, and his whole Facebook persona was amazing. You know, he had an amazing website. He looked very successful. However, what threw me off is right when I was looking through his timeline, what stopped me in my tracks is when I used to do binary option reviews, I used to get to know a lot of Fiverr actors and testimonial actors. So when I scrolled through this guy's timeline, it stopped me in the tracks because I recognized someone that used to be on Fiverr. And I'm like, are you kidding me? His whole entire persona just fell apart. So I reached out to him. I actually did this. I reached out to him and I said, what's going on? I mean, do you have any real testimonials, or do you just buy them off of Fiverr? You know, that kind of conversation. And he's like, no, I have real ones. And I'm like, well, it'd probably be a good idea for you to get rid of that Fiverr testimonial, which, by the way, his real name is this, this, and this. And I showed him screenshots of this person. And I said, it would be good for your brand if you just get rid of that and actually put real testimonials of customers that you've actually helped. See, he was trying to, I don't know what he was trying to do, but he was trying to get it out there or something. I mean, we kind of get in these desperate moments, but it's not always good because obviously it blew up on him. And I didn't expose him, right? Because some people do that. They expose people. I actually just private messaged him and just kind of went that way around it.
Now, you brought something up, Katie, about desperate moment. And that's what compels a lot of people to put up phony stuff out there, because they're getting desperate. Maybe they're told that, hey, this is easy, you should be making money in a month, or you should be able to get leads or get people sponsored within a month or two, and here's a good way to do it. But it's not a good way to do it. Again, you'll get found out in the long run in all these various ways. But for social proof and real social proof, you can't beat the honesty. And especially if you're, and I believe that the social proof should include, this is not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it's the best way to do and get to where you want to be in the long run. Because no matter what you do, you're going to have to work at it. And you're not always going to get the results right away. The people that give you the social proof, if you have somebody doing testimonials for you, they don't have to say a lot. It's just a matter of being there. Some people don't even listen to the recording. Some people just scroll down and see all the videos about social proof. Oh yeah, she got a lot of people. They don't even look at that stuff, especially if they have seen your other stuff, the other triggers. This one won't be as important, because they'll see the videos showing that you do have a community already in place. And they don't need to listen to that because they're so compelled to find out what else you have. But having them there is a key point that you need to have in your presentation of your business.
I will say that you know, the whole idea is, and don't get us wrong here, it's not like you absolutely have to have the social aspect of it. You don't have to have the social proof. When you're starting out, I'm not expecting you to do on this, but draw on the other emotional triggers that we spoke about. You know, tell stories, you know, do steps and series, do invite people to communities that you're a part of. Those are great emotional triggers. The social proof will come. You know, I remember when I very first got started, I didn't have any social proof in the form of a testimonial for me. I would join other people's testimonial for businesses that I was involved in, and that's fine as long as they're in the business. But don't be desperate to get a testimonial. The best type of testimonial is when somebody when somebody wants to help you out and you're helping each other up, it will come naturally. It will come naturally. It's that type of thing. This is what we want to encourage. We want to encourage authentic business practices. Don't fall into the habit of trying to manufacture something that isn't real, because it will just slow your progression down. Because once your integrity is out the window, it is very tough to get it back. Very, very tough. And I'm sure we all know of somebody that has fallen from grace and now they're trying to work themselves up because their whole reputation is gone because of something stupid they did in the past. And you don't want that for your business.
I think there's one other thing I'd like to mention, Dave. If you're new and a community event comes up in your business, first of all, they're good to go to if you can possibly do it, and get a lot of pictures with some of the leaders and other people, and you can post them on your Facebook timeline and other places that will also constitute as social proof. so you're connected with other leaders within, your business. And that's a good start as well if you don't have the videos and the testimonials and stuff. So that all adds up. I remember Katie running around getting pictures a lot, and I have pictures, and well, we all do, but it's another key point to remember.
We're actually coming to the end of the hour here, and we've got one more point we want to bring up here, and that is the last emotional trigger, and this is the idea of scarcity. So scarcity is another emotional trigger that draws people in. If you have something that a lot of people don't have, that draws people in. And if you remember when I first started out, I told you that I've got a message that I want you to hear that most people don't hear or most people don't get. And I'm drawing on the idea, and I'm drawing you into the idea that this is a piece of information that a lot of people don't have. And this is true. I'm not being false here. But the idea of scarcity is something that's very important. And whenever you're talking about your business, when you're presenting an idea, maybe you've got an amazing diet that people can go through that a lot of people aren't familiar with, like ketones or whatever you're doing out there. If you've got beauty products that a lot of people don't have, that you've got something that people don't have and can't get a hold of, and you can provide it for them, that is going to draw people in as well. Scarcity works like gangbusters. All right, it absolutely does. I mean, look at my situation, right? I'm a South African living in a third world country, and I've attained financial independence. It's something that's rare, something that I can draw on. People are attracted to this type of thing. And your situation could be very similar in that you have something that is going to help you build onto the next level inside of your income. People want that. Scarcity is an emotional trigger that gets people moving forward. And this is what I do in most of my stories. And in these 5 things that I speak about, I talk about just about all of them whenever I'm telling a story. I always draw on it. I always tell a story. I always talk about the fact that I followed a series of steps. I always talk about the fact that I have a series of steps people can actually go through. I always talk about the fact that I'm part of an amazing community. I always talk about the fact that there is huge social proof. I always talk about the fact that what I have to offer, not a lot of people have. And if they can get inside of it, they can see the value of it. If you can incorporate this inside of your business, you will absolutely bust through the ceiling. I'm telling you. The problem is, and where people don't follow these steps, is when they make everything, when they make everything about them, when they make their business about themselves. They for instance, I wrote about this in my email. I said that you can also use emotional triggers to pull people away from your business. All right, so you can tell stories that are absolutely going to revolt people. Don't tell people about things. Don't be dishonest. That's just going to draw people away. Don't be negative. That's going to draw people away. Don't falsify information. That's going to draw people away. Don't say things like, you're not going to be able to understand this. Don't make people look stupid. All right? Make it simple. Make it easy for people to understand. Break down your message. If you make it complicated, you're just going to give people this sense of overwhelmingness that nobody can actually grasp it. Don't complicate the issue. All right? If you want to present something, if you want to teach something, don't let somebody else do the teaching for you. All right? Because they're not speaking in your voice. Make it simple. Don't say to people, like I say to people that they've got to work at their business, right? And I don't try and alienate people. If I can see that somebody's pulling their weight, I will absolutely help them as much as I can. I will absolutely get people involved in the community. But don't leave people in the dust. Don't just grab people's money and leave them. Because all that's going to do is going to give you a negative review. That's just going to make somebody very, very, don't be harsh to people. Don't be mean and spiteful and reject everybody. Don't say that they're stupid. People don't want that. Treat people like you would like to be treated. And then, of course, don't make it seem like what you have to offer is always going to be there. All right? Because the truth is that information changes, right? Scarcity, information does change. It's not always going to be the same. YouTube doesn't always operate the same way it does. So the idea of scarcity absolutely applies. You're not being dishonest. All right? Katie made a video about creating how to use YouTube's video editor. It's not there anymore. It was only valuable for that time.
So almost got 10,000 views on it.
Yeah, it got 10,000 views on it. Things move with the times. This is why scarcity is important. I used to think that when people use scarcity, they were just trying to make me trying to do something. But the truth is that if you are an honest marketer and if you have something valuable to share, don't lie to people. Don't make it as if you will, that they're never going to get this chance again, only to find out that next week you got the same offer. All right, because I see so many people doing that. They say, last chance to get this deal. It's never going to happen again. And it's a $1 option. And they think, oh, no, I can't. Okay, I'll try it now. But then they come back a week later and there's still the $1 option. They come back 3 months later, it's still the $1 option. What's that do for you? That doesn't do anything for you. Be honest. Be full of integrity. Don't lie to people. It's really, really important that you keep to that. Jamie, you never made a comment on the last option. You want to say something, buddy?
I don't know if I can even add anything to that, Dave. But what Dave's saying is true. I mean, your integrity, your authenticity is the key to your whole business. If you're going to sit back there and not be real, fake it till you make it, tell lies, and that you're going to be exposed. I've seen some stuff on Facebook over this last year of some people that were taking money from people we knew, in the industry, and they were exposed big time, and it was all over Facebook and everything. And that's not what you want. I mean, you need to stand by your word. I mean, it's just like I grew up in a time, and Pops can relate to this. I grew up in a time where your handshake was your word, and the good old boy system. If you shook your neighbor's hand and you were going to help them out with something, you followed through and you did it, because if you didn't, you weren't a man of your word. And I mean, the same goes true online. If you're not basically doing that virtual handshake with somebody you're going to do business with, then there's no point in doing business with them.
Absolutely. And we're actually at the top of the hour now. We don't want to go too much over time here. Any last words anybody else wants to say?
No, you guys covered all of it perfectly, in my opinion. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'll say goodnight.
Thanks. Katie?
It's not fake it till you make it. It's faith it until you make it. Have some faith, people. It will happen.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We really appreciate the time that you spent with us. And thank you, Joe. Thank you, Robert and Colleen, for joining us. Those of you who commented. Let's see, Pastor Jackie, she was here as well. Thank you so much for jumping on. Yeah, we really appreciate you here. And we'd like to see you in the comments so we can at least give you a shout out and let people know that you're here and help your journey online and get you going. So with that being said, we will say goodbye. We'll be here same time next week, and have an amazing rest of the week. And we'll see you on Wednesday. And don't forget, Jamie Showell's hangout on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that being said, cheers. We'll sign off. Cheers.